In March of 2022, I was given a diagnosis which changed my life. I was told that I was a type 2 diabetic, and the levels of my A1C or my sugar levels were so high that I was at the verge of a diabetic coma. I was devastated at the time. My primary care physician asked me to go see a dietitian. In the beginning, she gave me all the recommendations. She gave me everything she could give to me as a dietitian and advised me as to what to eat and what not to eat. But like I always say, it is easier said than done. And I have come to realize that when it comes to a healthy lifestyle and diet, no one size fits all. I started seeing my nutritionist, but the diet that she was recommending was not working for me. I started it. I tried taking in the protein shakes and the bars, and it helped me to some extent, that I would admit. But after some time, it was just not sustainable. You know, where you have all these short term, short lived diets that help you lose weight for a period, but then you realize that it is not sustainable. That was the situation I found myself in. A month into it, I had lost some weight, which was great. My numbers were looking good. I took the medication like I was supposed to. I was walking. I even tried vigorous exercises at some point. I was putting in the work. I was trying to eat the diets that I had been given. And I had tried the keto diet several times before, but what ended up happening was I could only sustain it up until a point. And then I went back to my previous ways. When I started seeing my nutritionist, I realized something had to change. I started doing a lot of research into type 2 diabetes. And basically, unlike type 1, type 2 diabetes is reversible. Immediately, I realized I had to change my lifestyle. I had to change my nutrition. I had to change what went into my body. I went in for the regular weigh-in with my nutritionist. I told her I wanted to reverse it naturally. Of course, she being the specialist, she wasn't with the idea that I get off medication and try to do it on my own. So I took advice from the nutritionist. I took advice from my primary care physician, but then I applied what worked for me. And like I always say, advice is free. You take it, you take what works for you, and then you apply it to you. A month into seeing my nutritionist, I realized that the methods were not fully working for me. And at the time, I had noticed that there was no way I would be able to sustain that particular lifestyle, depriving myself of carbs. One thing I noticed was anytime I deprived myself, I ended up binging. I would deprive myself. I will go through the process of eating the things I needed to eat for that dietary period. And after that period was over, or after some time, I would binge on carbs. That was a no-no for me. It was not working for me. What I ended up doing was experiment a lot with my body. I realized that having a high fiber diet actually helps you combat the amount of carbs that you do take in. So if you're taking in carbs, the amount of carbs, and you take in more fiber, the amount of carbs, net carbs, that your body absorbs is less. So I started applying that. I increased my protein intake. I always tell people that I had decided that I was going to do whatever it takes, but be in the process of making it a lifestyle that works for me. After I got most of the information that I needed, I took a very serious step that I would not recommend or advise anybody to take. What I did was I got off all medication that I was given, because at one point in time I realized that I was taking about 4 or 5 different kinds of medication, and knowing myself, the medication to me was like help. Once I have help, I relax. I started noticing things that worked for me and things that did not work for me, physically, mentally, psychologically. I got off the medications without informing my nutritionist or my primary care physician. Now I knew that I was alone. And like I said, I would not advise or recommend anybody to do the same. At the time, that is what worked for me. That is what I knew would push me to the limit to try and do as much as I can about it. Because the information I read about type 2 diabetes basically stated that if it's not controlled with medication or diet or exercise, it has a severe impact on your nerves. And I really did not want that to happen. So me deciding to stop taking the medications cold turkey made me understand that I had to do this on my own. And that is the mentality I used moving forward. So about 2 months after I was diagnosed, I was taking no medication. My numbers had gone down a little bit, but I was still a diabetic. And so I had to find a way to make my lifestyle, my nutrition work for me to help me reduce my blood sugar levels. And because of all the research that I had done with respect to food and nutrition, I had made up my mind this was a goal. I put everything together. I started doing meal preps. I started reducing the amount of carbohydrates that I do take and sugars or processed sugars. And I ensured that the amount of fiber that I did take in a day was always more than the amount of carbohydrates that I did take in. And believe you me, it has changed my life. My numbers are significantly lower without medication. My blood sugar levels are significantly lower without medication. I have been able to reverse diabetes without medication. And in the process, I have lost about 90 pounds. So the weight loss was a plus. I found out that being able to reverse any type of diagnosis is 80% what goes into your body. And 80% what goes into your body is 80% of what is on your plate at every given time. Those are the principles that I applied. And I remember the day I decided to take the decision that I am not going to cut anything out cold turkey. I'm going to eat reasonable proportions, especially when it came to refined carbohydrates and simple sugars. I was going to eat it in very small quantities when I had the desire for it, but I was going to make sure that I increase my protein and my fiber intake. That decision I took some months ago literally changed my life. I cut out any form of sugary drinks or juices. Now, if I want to drink any type of juice, I just take just a little sip. It's really not that bad. Sparkling water is now one of my utmost favorites, and it has been a game changer for me. Taking that decision of changing what is on my plate has changed my life. I incorporated it as a lifestyle, and it is very easy to make a habit a lifestyle when it is simple and easy for you to adapt to. I was able to change what is on my plate, reduce my blood sugar levels without medication, get into a range of normal blood sugar levels without medication, and lose 90 plus pounds. The weight loss was just an addition to having great nutrition. If this information has been helpful to you at all, I will be sharing more on the steps I took to reverse diabetes, the things that I did during the day, and how I have been able to incorporate it into my lifestyle. Until next time, remember to be kind, be beautiful, be bold, be true, and always be you.